Okay. Right. Eyes forward. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming along to this afternoon session. I know it's the graveyard shift and everybody's just sort of probably had enough over the past couple of days of people being preached to and sold to and all the other things. I'm not going to sell to you. I'm not a salesperson. I'm an IT tech person, but I'm also a learning and development professional. So thank you very much. Okay, so what you've actually come to listen to me today about is self-paced onlining learning enough? How many HR people do we have here today? Whoa. How many learning and development people do we have here today? Brilliant. How many IT learning and development people? Hello. How many people here really don't know who they are or what they're doing here? I normally get at least 1 or 2 hands. Okay. Learning and development is about, okay, no, I'm not going to go. So, the question is self-paced online learning enough for you? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the company. It's not a sales pitch, it's just to let you know who we are and why I'm here. Pluralsight has a vision. Our vision is to democratize learning for the IT professional. It's a very big word. You've probably heard it been bandied around. It's the latest in words so far as education's concerned, whether it's online, offline, ILT, read a book, whatever. But our mission is that we want to make sure that everybody who needs the education that they need can get hold of the education. All of our courses, we have a subsection of courses that are available free to children. So if you have any kids that are under 16 that you want to get starting on coding, come and talk to me after and I'll show you exactly where you need to go for that. So I thought I'd start a little bit about who I am and where I came from. That's me at 12 or 13. Went up to do my options and I said, oh, I want to do computers. I want to learn computers. I want to learn how to program. 2 things. 1, I was useless at maths. I could never do maths. I was not in the top class. So I was told, no, you can't do computing. The second one, I was a girl. So, you know, back in, and I'm not going to tell you when it was because it was a long time ago and unicorns roam the earth and that sort of thing. But I was told I couldn't do computing. Went home, said to Mum, oh, I'm not allowed to do computing. Now, my mum's a bit of a feminist. She wouldn't have any of that. Went up to the school, tried to convince them. No, they wouldn't stop. So, does anybody know what that piece of equipment is? 64. Commodore 64. So you were either a Commodore 64 kid or you're a ZX Spectrum kid or you're an Atari kid, so depending. This one was the most expensive model, but it wasn't purchased, it was sort of acquired, and I'm going to leave it like that. So what I did is, as soon as I got that, I started teaching myself. We didn't have internet in those days. We had books, but we just had like this little manual. So I taught myself how to program, and I wrote a bank reconciliation program. Now, I was a bit of a naughty kid as well. I stuck an Easter egg in there. Who knows what Easter eggs are so far as programming? Yeah? So an Easter egg is something that if you click on something or do something in a particular combination, you'll get a little pop-up. Lots of web development companies do it just to sort of make it a little bit more exciting. My Easter egg was that if my dad put in a particular figure, it would wipe everything out and say overdrawn, overdrawn, overdrawn. I thought it was hilarious. He didn't. The story of the tale is, I then took that into school and I showed them what I designed, what I developed all by myself. I was 6 months ahead of the guys that were at school. So you don't have to go into school to learn how to program. If you've got the head and you've got the will, you can do anything. So that's me today with my headsets on. I listen to e-learning transcripts through my head. I go onto YouTube, I do video learning. I do go into classrooms sometimes, but then I tend to sit at the back and I do my own thing. So the whole idea of education is that you don't have to have somebody tell you how to do it. Anybody can do it. Anybody can learn. So who are Pluralsight? Where did we come from? And what are we offering? Pluralsight started in 2004 as a classroom training company, ILT, specifically for IT developers and IT pros. So like 5-day SQL courses, 4-day Java courses, and they were doing really, really well. And then in 2008, the company expanded so much that the leadership team wanted to reach out as many people as possible to reach that learning to anybody, anywhere, at any time. So we took all of our classes away. We just binned all the classes, no more classes. And we put everything online. And one of our first authors was Scott Allen, a Java guru. If anybody knows him, he's a brilliant guy. So we put everything online. And then we started to get hits for our online learning exponentially, because developers were only able to learn in a classroom with a great big book, or they could go on Google or go on YouTube, and they could only find little bits and pieces. So we then decided to expand the portfolio. So for the IT guys around here, Peepcode, Train Signal, the IT admin, IT dev, digital tutors, TestPub, Smarterer. So we've acquired quite a few companies in the past few years, all dedicated to the IT professional and the IT developer, and often forgotten markets as far as learning and development is concerned. So some of the companies that we currently work with, got all the logos up there. I'm not going to go through the logos, you can all read them. But we are trusted in the IT departments. And what tends to happen is people come to us from the IT teams, not the L&D teams, and not the HR teams. We go in as a Trojan horse. Last year we set up the European EMEA team. What we are dedicated at is the enterprise focus. So a lot of our customers were contractors or individuals going and buying their individual licenses. We've now converted that into an enterprise-wide market. Who writes our courses? We don't employ anybody to write our courses. We go to all of the top exhibitions and conferences around the world, all the IT ones, and we approach guys and we say, hey, you're the top of your field. Microsoft come to you for their courses. Would you like to design some courses for us? So 800 author network, all of them respected leaders in their fields. Microsoft use us, Cisco use us, all the top computer companies use us to train their people. And how do we separate that down? We separate that down into software, which is Java, JavaScript, ASP, .NET, C#, all the development language. IT Ops, which is your VMware, your Cisco's, all of that sort of back-end stuff. Creative, which are the games designers, the Rubies, the apps, the Ruby on the Rails. We do have some, what I call soft skill courses, but they're written by IT people for IT people. So they're quite broad, but they are definitely for the IT mindset. Data professional, everything, if anybody came to my talk yesterday, I talked about the big things going forward, which is big data, cloud, Tableau, infographics, all that sort of stuff. That's held within our data field. The other two are new areas, 3D, math modeling, that type of stuff. So that's enough of what we do at the moment, and if you want to know more, come and see us after on stand 03. But what you're really here to look at is some sort of hints and tips on whether online learning is enough for the industry. So I'm just going to put up a couple of slides. L&D professionals, we know the answer to this anyway, but it's just to frame what we're talking about. You get a lot of people saying, well, I've done some training, so I've learned something. Well, as we all know, training does not equal learning, does it? What we actually need to do, when we've actually done our training, whether it's online, offline, ILT, read a book, the first thing we need to do is to be able to apply it. So once you've applied that learning, you go through to the reflection time. So you reflect on what you've applied, and if you need to reflect back, you go back along that circle. The next element is review. So we've applied, we've reflected, now we're reviewing the learning. So we're reviewing what we're doing. We then move on to, if it goes up, the learning aspect. So learning only comes from the application of what you've trained on. You agree with that? Yeah? Okay. And then we go back to applying. So we've got a vicious circle going round of how we actually learn. Got a nice little black line going back to training, because once you've done that learning, you want to go and learn a little bit more. And one of the beauties of our product is that you can do it in bite size. So you don't have to start the course from start through to finish. You can go and choose a 2-minute slice or deep dive into something that you really need to know. I'm a little bit rusty on RESTful APIs, so I can go and find the whole course that talks about RESTful APIs, do a little search and go and find that information in there. So I'm applying, I'm reflecting, I'm reviewing, I've learned a little bit, I want to learn a bit more, so I go back. So that's the theory behind all of this. Theory is all well and good, but what you need to do is you need to listen to your users. And IT people, they're either very, very outspoken, like me, or they'll sit in a corner and just keep their head down and not talk to anybody. But we've got a Harvard Business Review graph here from last year, and they've said 39% of people in the IT sector prefer self-study over going into classrooms. But that self-study and independent research has to be shored up with other things. So engaging with outside experts. So when you've done your e-learning, how many of you actually go and talk to the authors who wrote that e-learning, or go and find an expert to actually converse with? Underneath that, you've got the formal seminars, things like this. These are just briefings. These aren't things where you're going to actually learn anything. You'll probably forget half of what I've said by the time you leave the seminar. Ebbinghaus forgetting curve and all that. However, formal learning and classrooms, there is still a place for it, but it's falling lower and lower on the agenda so far as IT people are concerned. Learning from in-house experts. At Pluralsight, we're very lucky to have our own in-house experts that also double up as authors and mentors. Many of your companies, when you have your IT people, go and hunt them out and find out who your internal expert is. And what you'll find is that they will love to share that information. Engaging with peers in other companies. How many of you use a program called Slack or Jive or threaded discussion forums, Skype forums, that sort of thing? You'll find a lot of companies setting up external chat sessions with other people so that they can have that peer-to-peer conversation. And then other, I don't know what other is, but it could be like reading books, or it could be going and sitting with Nelly or something like that. But the way that that review came out on the Harvard Business Review works very well with the way that we work as a company. We provide people with a self-study. We allow people to engage with the experts, because every single one of our course modules, you have the course authors sat behind. So we have those threaded discussion forums that anybody can go and ask the author a question. And it is specifically on the module that you're learning, not Java as a whole. So you get very, very prescriptive information. The in-house experts are our authors. They soon become your in-house experts. And then engaging with your peers within your company and other companies, our discussion forum allows your developers and your IT professionals to connect with other developers and IT professionals in other organizations to have that peer-to-peer conversation. So has anybody heard of structured group learning? Okay, structured group learning is something that is a plus, that is an addition to e-learning. When you buy e-learning, you give everybody their headsets and you give them, hopefully, you give them time to go and learn, because just because they've got headsets in and they're still sat at their desk, they're not doing their job, they're actually learning. But structured group learning is a way to help people do all those areas that we saw from that Harvard Business Review. So there are some goals that you need to sort of think about when you're talking about structured group learning, and this is where some of the 6 points that you need to start thinking about. Capitalising on anytime, anywhere. E-learning, online learning, it's all been around for years. I think the first time I ever used an e-learning package was 1995, and oh boy, it was so exciting. It was one of those sort of ones that you had to do and you just had to keep clicking. There was no interaction, there were no exercises, it was just information at you and you couldn't go back and do it again. So the anytime, anywhere scenario has to be anytime, anywhere. We find that 72% of our subscribers, and we have over 1 million subscribers worldwide, do their learning on their commutes. So on the way to work, on the train, or on the way home. But we have a big chunk in Scandinavia that do their online learning at night. And I've just done a study with some of my UK customers, and their learning is between 7 and 9 o'clock. So they obviously don't want to watch EastEnders, and they obviously don't want to watch Coronation Street. So, and the kids have probably been put to bed at that time, so they've got some structure. So anytime, anywhere is really important. Recognising the importance of allocating dedicated time. L&D professionals here, how many of you agree with the all line managers to allow your staff to have dedicated learning time if it's not ILT? If it's not ILT. So if it's ILT, instructor-led training in classes, you get up, You go and sit in a classroom, you do a bit of training, you get a great big book, you put that book away, or as I normally do, throw it in the bin on the way out. I've had 5 days worth of training away from the office. I've learned something. Well, I haven't always. When you're e-learning, people do their e-learning at their desk with their headsets on. But managers very rarely say to those individuals, you have permission to learn for an hour. You have got, every week you can do an hour of personal development time as e-learning. That is really important as managers and as L&D professionals, that you give people that time, especially IT people, because they're constantly either doing a support line or doing a bit of programming. You've got to give them that space. Yes, they will still do it, like me, at home. They will do all the training at home. But if you're giving them dedicated time, you have to do that. That is one of the goals of a structured learning program. How many people actually give their employees time to apply what they have learned in the real workspace? No. When you go on a course, you learn shed loads of stuff, but your brain finds it really difficult to filter that out and to decide what you want to learn, what you have learned, and how to apply it. With a structured e-learning, you can say to people, especially if you're in an agile development team, I've got, I'm going to be delivering a product in 6 weeks' time. I need my team to be up to speed on APIs, on a bit on security, and a bit of this. So we've structured it, we've told them to go away and learn it. They're going to be applying it as soon as they've learnt it because they've been given a project that they need to do. So look at giving projects. And I love this one. Not one of mine, but fully enabled learning. That means you have to give the responsibility to the individual and say to them, you have time, you can do this, let's do some learning. So, here comes your 6 points that you've all been waiting for. Define learning goals. You all do personal development plans for yourself. Do your teams do their own personal development plans? Do you work with them to do development plans? A lot of this is sucking eggs, but we do need to be reminded and we need to reflect that this is how it works in real life. You need to tell your IT people this as well, because IT people are the worst people for structuring learning. So be specific about what they need to do and how they're going to be doing it. And then make sure it's a reasonable request. Don't give somebody 10 hours of e-learning and say, I need that done within 24 hours and do your job at the same time. So be very reasonable about how you define those goals. And you can apply this to e-learning, you can apply it to instructor-led learning, you can apply it with Sitting with Nelly as well. Engage stakeholders. My role is to be the translator between HR and L&D and the IT people. Two different types of language going on there. The L&D people and HR people are saying, we need to keep everybody's learning structured within these job roles, within these job functions. And the IT managers are going, they just need to develop, they just need to get their jobs done, they just need this. So by you engaging with those IT teams, you can say to them, okay, tell us what success looks like. What does good look like to you? Define the success factors with the two people. Don't go off and do it on your own, because the IT people, they will just go and make it up as they go along. And gain commitment. Commitment from the line managers that they are going to give their people time to do online learning, and then the same commitment back from the learner that they will dedicate that time. As I told you, it's just teaching you guys to suck eggs. Design the experience. Okay, we've got a library of over 4,000 developer and IT courses. That's an awful lot to put out there and say, right, go and learn some Java. Select courses, identify projects, recruit SMEs and mentors. If we start with the select the courses, we can help you create learning paths, especially for the graduate recruitment program. That's brilliant. Everybody knows what a graduate needs to do from programming, systems admin and creative and business. Map those courses. You can do this. You can map the courses. We help you to do that. And then there is that learning experience ready-made for them. If they want to go and do their own thing, they can still do their own thing in their own time. But if you structure with their team leaders what they need for their projects when they need it, you will find a more structured learning experience for them. Implement the program. Who does big rollouts, or who does the communications when a new program comes in? 2 people. Anybody else? 3 people, 4 people. if you're going to buy something, don't just sort of put it out there and, you know, expect people to know it's there by osmosis, or, you know, oh look, there's that on the intranet, I'm going to click on it and see what it is. You spent money on something, make a big song and dance about it. I did with one client, they said, oh, how are we going to get people involved? You know, they're going to be sat at their desks, we don't know how, people are going to come and tap them on their shoulders and say, oh, can you help me with this? They went and created baseball caps, put a hashtag on the back, hashtag active learner, right? They put, every time they were going to do a bit of learning, they stuck their hat on, and they had to tweet on their company intranet that they were doing a bit of learning. So people left them alone. I thought that was a fabulous idea. So implementing the program, complete the learning activities. You need to make sure that people are completing whatever you're setting if you are doing it as a structured program. Conduct group sessions. Now here's something that nobody likes to do in e-learning. They give you e-learning and they sit and they go, right, you've got to go and learn by yourself. We can see when you finished it, we can see what you're doing, but what happens if that person who's doing e-learning is a bit of a social butterfly like me, and I love to sit with people while I'm learning as well? So one of the things we've started implementing with some of our customers is to set up group learning sessions. We pick a topic. It may be a 5-minute video on implementing a security strand within a DNS. We'll bring all the people in that need to do it. We'll preempt that with a little bit of conversation about what the company needs to achieve out of this. We'll then run the video for everybody, and they'll all do that, and then we'll say afterwards, okay, let's have a conversation. What was good about that? What was bad? How can we apply that for the issue that we've got now? So it's not only sending somebody to do e-learning by themselves, it's bringing them in to that pseudo instructor-led environment, but without an instructor. They're watching something, and then they can talk amongst themselves. And then evaluating the outcomes. How many of you do surveys every year? Did you like your learning this year? What would you like to do more last year? How many of you actually do a did learning occur, and how many of you can work out how the outputs worked out? The type of questions you need to be asking when you do that is, after you did your learning, were you more efficient in your day-to-day role? Could you complete your activity quicker than you did before you did that learning? So it's all about business impact. None of this fluffy stuff, as you know, was the coffee nice and all that sort of stuff, because e-learning you don't get coffee unless they go and get it themselves. And was it valuable? If it's not valuable to the individual when they're doing online learning, then it's not going to be valuable to the organisation, because they just won't do it. So you have to put measurable outcomes on all of the different things. You do this for instructor-led training, why don't you do it for online training? It's the same theory. Now I know we said that there are 6 points, there's only 5 here. The 6th point is my company. So basically, if you want to know more about this, how we implement it, we're over on stand 03, so come along and have a conversation with us. But we practice what we preach. We do this in our own working life every single day. So, the key to all this, and I am finishing up soon because my voice is dying here, the key to all this is applying those skills, measuring how you've applied those skills that you've learned. Send somebody on a 5-day training course, you are never going to be able to measure those skills. Give somebody bite-sized little modules that they can dip in and dip out when they need it. You will be able to measure it because you'll see an immediate impact, especially in IT, with a speed of development and a speed of product delivery. Keep track of what happens. Most people use a very structured learning management system to keep track of every single keystroke that their people do. And a lot of IT people won't use learning management systems because they don't like to be measured. We can measure how long somebody views something, what they viewed, what time they viewed it, but it's all hidden in the background. And they don't have to check in and check out of a course like you do in a learning management system. So you still get all the metrics that you need as team leaders, learning and development, HR and managers. The individual doesn't have to worry about navigating all of that learning management structure to actually do 2 minutes worth of stuff that they would go and do on Google. It's exactly the same. How many of you allow people to make mistakes? Pass, fail. Yeah? Encourage that within your organisation, because going right the way back to training and learning, you never learn anything unless you've made a mistake. I've made loads of mistakes in the past. I've even switched the whole server off with my bum backing into it. That I realised that I should never go into that server room again. But I learned from that, and I now no longer work with servers because I'm rather dangerous. But be prepared for your users and your learners to make mistakes and allow them to. Don't admonish them because something didn't work. That's part of the learning experience. They've tried it, didn't work, encourage them to go back and do it again. And then seek out others. So this group learning type aspect. Get people onto discussion forums. How many of you allow people to tweet or to join external forums so that they can continue their learning outside? You'll be surprised how many organisations tie that down. Your learner will then go and get an iPad or a phone, get themselves off the company network and go and do it anyway. So give them the access. As long as it's secure. Pluralsight has lots of lovely security courses that you can go on as well. So, finishing off, is the last slide. This was taken from a CEB study that we did last year. After the fact of implementing some of these group learning, bit learning, on-time learning, demand learning, what did they actually use that learning for? Most of them said they were using it to dip in and dip out for problem solving. So instant troubleshooting. I'm an engineer, I'm out on the road, I've got an issue, can't quite remember how to do it. I'll get my iPad out, go and find the course that I was learning a couple of weeks ago, but I can hone straight into the bookmark area that I was looking at. And that's what they're doing. So engineers are using it on the road. Higher quality. We've actually found that the managers of our systems are saying, that individuals are saying that the quality of the authors are what brings them back to the learning time and time again. They are respected people across the IT sector. They even have groupies. We have people that buy the software purely because Troy Hunt has written a load of courses for us, and they'll just buy it just to do Troy Hunt's courses. So it is better and over and above than any other classroom training because they can do the learning and they can dip in and out whenever they want. And then 55% say the skills that they learnt, they've been able to apply it faster within their working environment. And I think that last one is the one that all organisations want. They want the impact of the learning to be brought into the business as soon as possible. So, at the end of the day, and we are nearly at the end of the day, thank goodness, what we're talking about is how much time do we give our learners to do all of this structured learning and to do e-learning. You send somebody on a classroom course, you've given them time. That's the mentality. I've gone out, I've had time. You give them online on-demand learning, you've got to give them the time to actually do that as well. If there's no time, then you're not going to get value out of whatever you've bought, and you're not going to get the impact that we can help you provide to your organisation. Thank you very much. Any questions? Have I just stunned you all to silence? Well, if you want to know more about what we do and how we do it and how we can help your IT organisation be better and more efficient, 03, opposite Theatre 8, go and see the team. They're more than welcome to have a chat to you about how we can help you. Thank you very much.